You're not going to be high jumping anytime soon.
Let's be fair. I wasn't high jumping in the first place. I do not have what they say in the business is mad hops. Welcome to My Hill to Die On, episode 35.
Everyone has things they are passionate about.
Things we want our friends to try and experience.
So we've convinced each other to try different things.
And we talk about these experiences to see if we can just get one more person
to join us on our hill to die on.
I do have a very interesting thing that we're doing in class. So you might have heard, we have in our politics class decided that we were going to do a activity where we've been talking a lot about efficacy and that your voice is heard. And so we decided that we were going to do a project where they are going to gather in groups of things they care about. And we did some surveys to figure out what kind of topics they wanted to talk about. And in those groups, they were going to create proposals, and we're going to walk them through how to write a proposal and how to address a proposal to people who are in power over you. Basically, as if you were talking to a town hall or to your senator or some things like that. And the analog for us is going to be the administration at our school. The topics that they want to talk about are things like the dress code policy, or the phone policy, or classes, like adding new classes, things like that. And so we're working through writing proposals, how to approach thinking about not only what is it that you want, but what is it that the people who are making the decisions, what is their goal? And so how do you find that middle ground between what their goal is and what your goal is, and working together? And so I'm really looking forward to this project because I am intrigued to see how well they do with this. The whole purpose of this project is basically to take everything we've talked about with having your voice heard and with the fact that politics is really just the interaction with people and how societies work in general and how all that works together. I am very intrigued to see what they develop and what is heard, and if there are any reactions either from the students or from the administration on what decisions get made.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I do know some of the ideas they have will definitely not fly. But, it's very interesting to see, like, these are the things that we really want, and these are the things we would like to have, but we're willing to budge on these. And these are the things that we know that the administration really wants. For example, we have the phone policy. Well, what is the stated reason on why the phone policy exists? Why do we have this? Or the dress code. What is the stated reason for why there is a dress code? Well, then let's talk about that stated reason and maybe work towards having a better solution to reach that stated reason. So, for example, if the stated reason on the phone policy is to help cause more strong interactions between our student body, especially in a world where we can't talk to people very much, maybe we work around that. One of the main things that they would love to have is the ability to use phones during lunch.
Oh, I thought we used to have that. We don't have that anymore?
We used to have it, not anymore.
Wow.
It got taken away a couple of years ago, and now with COVID, I'm very surprised they didn't just say, oh yeah, during lunch, yeah, go ahead. But
yeah,
they still have stuck by no phones during lunch, and yet we also tell them, don't talk to people, and also don't have your phone out.
But don't read a book, my goodness, careful.
Think about how we read books.
This is true.
I read a book by pulling out my headphones and pulling out my phone. So, I have no ground to stand on when I'm like, kids, just go ahead and read a book.
Speaking of trying to get people to understand,
I
sent out a survey to the parents asking how they felt about the late start. And it was quite interesting because the question was worded something like, I'm okay with late start if it helps other families stay safe, or, if it's a positive impact for many other families, or I'm okay with returning back to normal if that's positive for many other families. And because those questions were worded that way, not just what's best for me, but what's best for most everybody, I think the comments were much more interesting because of that.
Oh?
There was much fewer comments of, I mean, there were still some of, no, I really need a this, or, I really need a late start, or I really need to start at a regular time.
Hmm.
There was much fewer of those comments. There were still some, but there were a lot of, oh yeah, I can see that it might be better for other people. I would prefer this, but if everybody else wants the other thing, that's fine too. There were a lot of comments like that where, one way or the other, I would prefer this, but other people might prefer the other thing. I could see that people, because of those earlier questions, people were thinking of others more in their comments than what they particularly wanted. So it's quite interesting.
That's nice. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we always talk about how necessary it is that we think of the community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that, at least in this instance, the community was thought of.
Mm-hmm. And really, yeah, most everybody was happy. There's only a few people that said it was inconvenient, but they can see that since it's better for everybody, they're okay. A few people said that it actually doesn't work out well for them. And I know we've contacted a few families where we know that might be the case. So I wonder if we need to reach out to a few more. But anyway, unfortunately, the survey was anonymous, and I don't think the families that had that problem left those. Oh, we also left a spot where, hey, leave your name if you want us to get back in contact with you. And I don't think any of the families that were upset left their names. So we'll have to figure that out another way.
See, my whole feeling is I understand that the late start might be inconvenient for some people,
Mm-hmm.
but Keith and I were talking about this. The kids are just so much better rested and ready for class with the late start.
Mm-hmm.
And also, let's be honest, I feel like many times they're getting more effective learning for the shorter period
Mm.
because they're coming to school more rested. At least for my class, they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I say that, and then I still have the block where everybody seems to believe that every day is a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
What can I say? Apparently, I just need to make my programs more challenging. So, do you have a game that you'd like to talk about, or is it just me today?
No, just you today. I don't have any game today. I'm still playing my Disco Zoo. I'm doing great.
Yeah, have you found all the Martian animals? Moon animals.
I found all the moon animals. I haven't found all the Martian animals. Well, I mean, I found all of them. I'm just not at diamond trophies on all of them yet. I need to earn a few more moon coins to get to my Martian animals. But I have 13,000 coins. 13 million coins in the game. Wouldn't it be nice if it was like real life?
You could just cash in your coins in-game into real life.
Exactly. But anyway, what do you got?
So I was reflecting on a lot of games that I've played in the past and a lot of ones that I really loved. And one that came to my mind was a game called Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay.
So Shadow of the Colossus originally released on PlayStation 2, and they had a re-release of it for PlayStation 4. So the basic premise is you are a character named Wander. Yeah, I know.
So it's pretty on point, right?
Pretty on point,
Is it an open world game?
It is an open world game.
Sorry, that's too much on point then, isn't it?
So the game opens with you having brought what essentially looks like a corpse of a girl who you've brought into this temple, and the girl's name is Mono, and that's all you know about her. And you hear a voice that comes out of the ceiling that says, "Oh, so you want to bring this girl back to life? Well, I can help you do that. You just need to defeat the 16 massive colossi to unlock my power so that I can help bring her back." That's the basic premise of the game. And then you go and hunt down these 16 giant colossi who are just walking across the various parts of the world, and you have to somehow climb up them and destroy them.
Are they all of equal difficulty, or I'm assuming some are easier than others?
Some are easier than others. Some are gentle giants who are just big furry guys, and you just have to climb up him and get to his head and then stab him.
They don't fight back?
The first one doesn't.
No.
Some of them fight back, some of them don't. Some of them fly, some of them are giant horses, some of them dive beneath the sand, some of them fire lasers at you. All of them are different. But the thing is, and this is going to go into spoiler territory, so if you have not played it and you don't know and you don't want to hear, skip to the next chapter, please.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Those people are gone. Great. So, what basically happens is every time you kill one of these things, this gray mist seems to come out of them and invades Wander every time.
So he's becoming a Mistborn slowly. Sorry.
Not quite. So every time you kill one, you basically seem to have this thing invading your body and you pass out and you wake up and you're back at the temple. And so you do this over and over again until you've beaten all of the 16 colossi. And each time you're killing them, the overwhelming mood that you have is, am I the bad guy for doing this? Because some of them aren't fighting. Some of them are just like minding their own business until this random little guy comes walking up, climbs up them, and stabs them in the eye. So the entire time you're asking yourself, am I the bad guy? Well, the game actually ends with once you've beaten the 16th Colossi, the big voice in the sky, who actually turns out to be a evil deity, takes over your body. And the guy who had actually originally caused the whole thing that led you to run with Mono into this area that had the temple that could potentially bring her back, had come into the valley to stop you from doing what you actually did. You end up attacking this group of people. So you're taken over by the voice in the sky and end up fighting all these things. And eventually you are, in that form, defeated. And the game ends with the guys who originally caused all the problems running away and out of the valley where all the colossi were, and the path out of the valley breaking. And so everything that was in the valley is now trapped there. And then you, as Wander, are nowhere to be seen, but Mono, the girl who you had spent the entire game trying to revive, wakes up. So,
And is she stuck in the valley too, or no?
she's stuck in the valley, and then she does also find a baby who seems to be mysteriously like in the place of where you disappeared. So it seems to kind of hint that your character has been reborn in the body of this baby. Also, your horse lives. The entire time you're like traveling in this area, and in one of the battles, your horse actually falls off a cliff. It falls off the cliff to save you, and the end of the game, you're grieving that all this stuff has happened, and your horse comes back. So the horse lives.
It's also reborn. It didn't just walk up from the thing it fell off of, probably.
No, it's actually limping. So you can
Oh.
tell that it was hurt. But yeah, it's a very interesting story, especially because so much of the story is told through little glimpses of what you get, and in almost a feeling and a mood, rather than any sort of upfront narrative. It's very much a show, not tell.
So you have to go discover a lot of things.
Well, it's not really a discover a lot of things. It's more of a feeling rather than through showing rather than telling.
Sounds good.
Really good game, very fun, and as I said, it's one of those games that makes you think because the entire time you're fighting and killing these giant beasts. And there are only 16 enemies in the game.
So it's a rather quick game, probably, huh?
Oh, that's a couple hours.
Hmm.
But I mean, the entire time you're just thinking to yourself, am I the bad guy?
Interesting.
So, Shadow of the Colossus, highly recommend it. Fun game, really good.
Thank you, Ryan. So today we have another gift from Scott. Since he guessed it on episode 30, he gave us two. We did the Fanta,
Which was excellent.
the Premium Peach, right? We did that 2 episodes ago. Oh, no,
3 episodes ago. Because he was there 30. We got that one for 32. And so,
Yep.
35. So it's been a while.
It's been a while. Sorry.
It's been a while.
Anyway,
It's been sitting in my refrigerator for a while.
so this is a Seijo Ishii drink, I'm pretty sure. It's one of our grocery stores, so it's the brand from them, which actually has their name.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what that kanji says,
I
right?
think so. I'm terrible at kanji.
Me too. But I think that's what that kanji says at the top. It's extra spicy ginger ale.
Which is why I'm scared.
And it says Jubai. Did you see that?
Yeah, 10 times.
10 times as strong.
Yeah.
And it has sediment.
Yeah.
So I've already been
Oh,
not shaking, but slowly turning my bottle.
I did not see that until you just mentioned it.
So yes, you will want to rotate your bottle around a few times.
I am doing that right now. Can you not hear my bottle spinning?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because this is great podcasting. Listening to a bottle. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm worried about this one. And tell you right up front, I like sweet ginger ales. I do not like spicy ginger ales. And so I stare at this 10 times extra spicy ginger ale and just go, why?
Oh my.
Why am I doing this to myself?
Which is interesting because, Scott got us the premium peach.
Which was delicious. Thank you again, Scott.
And they also have a premium ginger ale. Fanta has a premium ginger ale out now. Did you see that too?
I did not.
And I also noticed that has sediment on the bottom of it too. I noticed at the store today. But let me tell you, the Seijo Ishii extra spicy ginger ale, it's got one leg up on the Fanta premium peach
Oh?
because it's at least 400 milliliters.
The amount of liquid
All right.
doesn't necessarily decide whether or not it's a good drink. Because I might be stuck with like 390 milliliters of something I don't want to drink.
This at least has 410, which is getting close to a 500 milliliter bottle, but no accounting for volume. Maybe the flavor will be good.
All right.
As you say, volume is not the determining factor.
Yeah. Not to speak ill of anything that has been provided to us kindly out of the goodness of Scott's heart.
I think he gave it to us so that we could be tortured on the air. I'm not so sure it's goodness of his heart.
So you're saying that we don't necessarily have to believe that it came from the goodness of his heart?
No, I think he's looking for good programming. Here we go. Let's open it up.
You know, if this is really bad, I can always knock on his door and threaten him.
At this hour of the day?
Oh, that smell.
Ooh, it smells like ginger.
Yes, it smells like exactly what you eat on the side of your
Sushi.
katsudon.
Yeah, that too, actually. Yeah, you're right. The red ginger on the side of katsudon.
Mm-hmm.
Or the ginger in the sushi restaurants. Here we go. Wow. Whoa. It comes in waves.
I can feel the jubai.
It's 10 times as spicy, that's for sure. Oh, it's really spicy. Oh, it's seriously strong.
I can hear the colors.
Wow.
I don't think that's a good thing.
Wow, this is very strong.
You know, it's really nice and smooth at the start. Like when you first drink it, it's real nice. And then the spice.
Wow, isn't it? I think I kind of like it.
No, no.
I remember when I was little at home and we'd be sick and my mom would give us ginger ale because there's a little bit of ginger in ginger ale, right?
Yeah.
I needed to drink this drink when I was sick. That's for sure.
Yeah, this will clean out anything in your system. I think all the bacteria that's living in my esophagus just died. Like the first sip is great.
It's stronger than ginger tea. Like,
Yeah,
I've had Korean ginger drinks that don't compare to this.
I'm gonna cap that. Yeah, the first drink when it first goes into your mouth, it's great, and then that kick hits, and that kick
It's
just
hitting you.
just burns. It just burns.
I like it. I think I might save some for my wife to give her a taste too.
You know, you do that. I'm gonna not. Yeah, I'm just not. No.
I think I might give it a 4. You're not going to go as high as 4?
No, I'm not. I'm gonna give it a 2. A solid 2. Given your reaction, it sounded like you would have given it higher than a 4.
Well,
Because it sounds like
I
you
was
like
thinking
it.
5. I like it. I don't think I can finish the bottle at one go, though.
Yeah, no,
I think that's why I'm hesitating on a higher number.
I just feel like if I drank more of it, I would get an upset stomach because of the burning.
It's mostly in my throat for me.
Well, yeah, it's in my throat. I'm just worried that it'd migrate south.
It's not necessarily a refreshing drink.
Oh, refreshing was the furthest thing from my mind.
I do enjoy it.
I enjoy the programming that this is probably providing. I also enjoy the fact that we actually have a drink that we disagree on.
I do like it. I think I'm going to end on a 6 because I really enjoy its flavor.
When a drink causes me physical pain, it cannot go above a 2.
I'm okay with the physical pain part.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott. I am very appreciative. Next time, more peach.
Scott was able to find the ends of your spectrum, huh? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the peach, fantastic. The ginger, not so much.
Maybe when we review 2021, we can have a worst of drink too.
Well, we'll just have to play a clip show, I think. All right, so got another thing, though.
Yeah, the other thing, which is pretty funny, my wife comes to me and says, "Hey, Nate, I got Kit Kats for your podcast." And I'm like, "You got Kit Kats for my podcast? You pay enough attention to my podcast that you want to buy snacks for us?" And she says, "Don't remind me. Don't think I'm encouraging you, Nate." She found passion fruit Kit Kats for us, so I'm interested in these. The packaging is very yellow.
The packaging is very yellow, and the size of the Kit Kat, at least based on this, what I can feel through the wrapper because I haven't opened it yet, feels about the same size as the. They feel smaller than a regular Kit Kat, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they were similar in size to the first one we had. Well, opening it up, they are orange.
Yeah, I'm
color.
cracking one open right now.
But luckily, it is 2 bars, so you can't break it, which was my complaint with the nuts and cranberry, is how can they call it a Kit Kat when you can't break it?
It was just a kit.
Yeah, I think so.
That is a almost worrying color of orange.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. That is...
It's interesting. I think it's good when the passion fruit flavor hits.
Mm-hmm.
My first bite was overly sugary, but my second bite had more of the passion fruit in it.
It's the nice little sour kick that it has.
Mm-hmm.
I realize I describe a lot of things as having a kick. It's when you have the flavor, and then a secondary flavor comes in and says, hello.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it has that nice little sour bit. I would say it feels a little inconsistently distributed.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that's why my first bite felt too sweet. My second bite had the passion fruit in it, and that was good.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because my first and second bite were good, and then the third bite felt like nothing but sugar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish it was distributed better. But yeah, when you get the passion fruit, it does taste good.
Mm-hmm. I will say, of the Kit Kats we've had so far, I think I like this one the best.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I mean, low bar so far.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think nuts and cranberry might edge this out a little bit.
Yeah, it's just the nuts and cranberry was so small. It was just a kit and not a cat, and it just had the nuts and cranberry on top of the Kit Kat. It wasn't actually inside. I think that was my problem with it.
But I think it had chocolate going through
Yeah.
it, whereas these ones don't have chocolate.
Yeah, it just has sugar.
Just wash that down with a little bit of ginger ale. Woo.
Yeah, no. I
Wow.
thought about that and then went, no.
That's super strong.
Yeah, you made your choice there. Today for our pick 2, since we will be talking later about Mr. Rogers, we figured it'd be a great thing to talk about some of the childhood programs that we watched growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Are we narrowing it down any further than just childhood TV programs?
I don't think so. You could take that any way you want to. How far away are you taking it? Sorry.
Because, I mean, there's the childhood educational programming, there's the childhood cartoons, there's just random TV that we watched growing up. Because, I mean, like, when I was a kid, I watched the Sci-Fi Channel with my father, and I'm sure that those probably wouldn't count as what I would consider childhood TV programs.
I mean, mine will be at the educational ones,
Okay.
but I think that's more because of the meaning they had, even though I have watched other things.
All right.
I guess I could pick Jeopardy. That was a pretty big staple in my family, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, because you are going with the educational ones, why don't we have you go first so I don't accidentally steal one of yours?
Oh, it's not a draft, Ryan.
It's not a draft.
Sure, I will pick Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Ooh, good choice.
This was very interesting. I used to come home after school and get my homework done as quick as I could and then watch what PBS had on.
Mm-hmm.
There was a whole bunch of them that were on. And I used to also watch on Saturdays. There was a show called Beakman's World, which was the science show at the time. And I liked Beakman's World. I don't think it was on after school, though. I think it was on Saturdays where I was. But anyway, and then I remember the day. Well, I just remember the feeling. I don't remember what day it was, but I remember the feeling when PBS changed their lineup and introduced the show called Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I remember thinking, oh my, this is calmer than Beakman's World, which was,
Yeah.
just shows you how wild Beakman's World was. And I'm like, I don't know if I like this show, this science show. But oh my, it's so much better than Beakman's World. It took me like a week and I was like, no, this is the show for me. And I think I remember my friend in high school would record this back to back on his VHS player in the SLP mode where you can fit 6 hours of video. But then of course he'd start it right when it starts and end, the recording right when it ended. And I forget how many he fit on there, but he fit on more than 12, right? It would be a 14 or 15 episodes onto one SLP videotape, which of course I'm sure is horrible to watch back, but still, I just remember thinking, wow, he fit that many on. But yes, Bill Nye the Science Guy. It is interesting because actually they show that at our school to our kids, and it is funny watching and think, oh, yep, the funny style of the 90s. And I loved the songs. In fact, I don't even know what the Nirvana song is called, but I only know it as Air Pressure. I'm sure there's a real name to that Nirvana song, but I only know the Air Pressure version of that song.
I think that Smells Like Teen Spirit, isn't it?
I don't even know the real words. I only know the Bill Nye version.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Great choice. Great choice. I remember watching Bill Nye as soon as I got home from school every day. See, the problem is, a lot of my childhood TV memories are, I remember immediately rushing home and watching them, and that's about all I remember. I don't actually remember most of the content of the shows, except for a couple of them.
Yeah, I guess, not terribly many.
For example, my next pick is a hard, I'm struggling to decide between two, because both are in the very same genre, and I didn't want to pick two that are so close and identical. So you'll have to forgive me if one of these two was your other choice.
That's okay.
But I was trying to decide between Reading Rainbow and Wishbone.
Oh, okay. Both are good. I didn't actually pick these, but they're very good.
Because both of those were some of the more educational shows that I watched. I loved going home and watching various people reading stories. That was just what I loved about both of those, is just the stories that they would come up with. I did like Wishbone, and for the mere fact of a dog was retelling all of the stories. So you got to see this wonderful rendition of Count of Monte Cristo as played by a dog.
Did you ever watch Ghost Rider?
Yes, I did.
That one's less story based, though. Yeah.
And I just loved having those stories read to me. So for me, it was both Reading Rainbow, which, I mean, what can you say about Reading Rainbow except it's amazing?
Nothing bad at all.
Nothing bad at all. And Wishbone was just shall I say, the more ridiculous little brother of Reading Rainbow. I feel like both of those were just excellent TV for me.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, like I said, I have nothing bad I can say about them, because I just remember hearing a lot of those old stories as read by either LeVar Burton or the voiceover from the dog.
There was a teacher that named their computer Wishbone at school. At our school, we like to name our computers. She named her computer Wishbone. I thought that was great.
Not too many people remember when I mentioned Wishbone. Now I'm curious. When was that one?
Actually, I just found it 95 to 98.
That makes sense, because 95 to 98, I would have been 7 to 10 years old. So yeah, that was in the perfect range for me. It was airing at the perfect range for me.
Yeah, Wishbone was a little bit more my brother's. I watched it and I enjoyed it, but yeah, it would have been...
Yeah, it was definitely designed for...
younger kids.
Elementary age kids, yeah.
Yeah, because I was a teenager at that point. But it's what got me thinking about dog breeds, which is interesting because that was a Jack Russell Terrier, and my aunt had just purchased a Jack Russell Terrier. So that was kind of interesting.
Looking up the listing, there are 5 different dogs listed as starring as Wishbone.
As Wishbone.
Yes, it was definitely a Jack Russell Terrier.
Slugger, Shiner, Phoebe, and Bear. They were giving away books at school a while back, and a bunch of them were Reading Rainbow books. So I picked up a few of them. Of the ones I picked up, most of them I actually remember hearing on Reading Rainbow. But then, of course, I could find the videos on YouTube and played the videos for my children while we had the physical book in hand, too, and that was quite fun. Including The Rain on Kapiti. I don't know how to say it. The Rain on Kapiti Plain. James Earl Jones read that one, I think. And I wish they didn't have Abby Yo-Yo, the one that Pete Seeger read and wrote, I believe. I saw it somewhere once, and I don't remember where I saw it, but I was thinking, wow, it was funny to read it myself. I couldn't read it in my voice in my head because I had already heard it in his voice, so every time I read it, I was hearing it in Pete Seeger's voice. I've been spoiled.
We were definitely spoiled because they had all these excellent actors and voice actors reading these stories to us. And I mean, they have that now, but it feels like it's not the same because it's not something that's like, this is what everyone did because we only had so many channels. And yet I think about the fact that when I was growing up, everybody I knew was watching Reading Rainbow when they got home. This aired from what?
Oh, it was a long time. I actually didn't look that up yet.
From 80-something. 86, it looks like? No, earlier. 83. Started in 83.
Wow.
And it aired all the way to 2006.
Yeah. Not every season had a lot of episodes.
And a couple of them were skipped. There's this period where it was 2002, and then the next episode is 2004. So, you know.
He had other things going on in his life during that time.
Was it LeVar Burton for all of the years? I didn't think so.
I think it was.
Was it really? Was he actually hosting it in 83?
Oh, I think so.
I mean, it's very possible. It's one of those things where I go, really? From 83? Yeah, from 83. He hosted it from 83. Burton was the host and executive producer of Reading Rainbow starting in 83. And it ran for 23 seasons.
Yep, that's a good show.
Yeah, it was.
Is that both your picks in one?
No, that was... I went with...
That's your story pick.
I went with my story pick, and then I have another one.
Gotcha.
Which is slightly less educational.
All right, my next pick then. I'm going to pick Square One TV. Square One TV was a math-related show, math education show from likely the 80s. I'm not exactly sure, but let me see. I have recently found it on YouTube and shared it with my kids. Not every episode is on YouTube. Wish you could get that somewhere, but I don't see it anywhere else. 1987 to 1992. Oof, these shows are old. My goodness. It's almost like 50 years old. No, it's almost 40 years old, I guess is what it is. Yikes. Look at that. It was available in mono, and then they moved to stereo in 1991. Oh, my. But there was very good things in this show. Because my older 2 children have learned the multiplication tables already, I've definitely played them the 999 song, which talks about how all the numbers that are multiples of 9, if you take all the digits, they always add up to 9. 9 times 3 is 27, 2 and 7 is 9. 9 times 4 is 36, 3 and 6 are 9. Anyway, all of it works, even when you get into the hundreds. Just keep adding up the digits and it always adds up to 9. Quite fun. They have some very interesting recurring segments, like Math Man, which is a Pac-Man kind of guy. They always have a good song. There's a fun Beach Boys one that talks about tessellations. And of course, the 999 song. The final segment at the end of their shows is a Dragnet parody called MathNet. And those were the best. I used to watch those all the time. And they're definitely my children's favorites too. When I've showed them on YouTube, they want to watch the MathNet segments. They would show MathNet at the end of every episode, and it would be basically a 5-part thing. So during the week, you would see one whole storyline through all the episodes of the week. But YouTube being YouTube, They just edited out all the rest of it and just ganged up all the math nets together, and you can watch the full thing straight in a row, which is, I was like, oh, this is what I wanted to do as a child. Somebody just edited it all together for me. Wonderful. Quite fun.
Mm-hmm.
My dad even modeled a speech that he gave on, I can only give you 7% of my love,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. I think it might be 8%. I can give you 8% of my heart, which is a fun song about a boy who tells his girlfriend that, his love is divided up amongst all his possessions, which is hilarious because of all the things that are more important than his girlfriend, because he can only give his girlfriend 8% of his heart.
Oh, man.
8% of my love. There it is. YouTube. Gotta love it. Gotta love YouTube.
But the real question is, why is she still with him if he can only give 8% of his heart?
Well, she tries to walk away throughout the song, which is pretty fun.
All right.
Yeah, you got to stop me from watching this movie.
Yeah, I'm going to stop you before you actually get into that. So, the problem is, I have a lot of fun picks that I was thinking about, like growing up. I mean, I watched a lot of Transformers growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a lot of DuckTales. Woo!
Mm-hmm.
But for sheer silliness, one of the ones that I really remember watching was The Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Oh, what's this?
It was on Nickelodeon.
Okay.
From 93 to 95.
None of us picked Double Dare. Sorry, go ahead.
This is in that same kind of genre.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It is a TV game show.
Okay.
It was, I think, like 6 teams of kids who faced off against each other each week. So the first round was a moat that they had to cross. The second round was what they called the Steps of Knowledge, which was just multiple choice questions.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one were what they called temple games, where they had to do some physical challenges and whatnot. And then the last one was probably the one that I found the most interesting. Well, aside from the Steps of Knowledge, because, quiz questions are always fun. But the final one was what they called the Temple Run. They had this temple that whatever team had gotten past all the other rounds got to do this run for the chance of winning the whole kit and caboodle. And what they had to do is they had to assemble some sort of artifact. So this entire thing is based on like an Indiana Jones type feel.
Mm-hmm.
So when they talk Lost Temple, it definitely feels like you are jumping into an Indiana Jones type movie. For the final round, what they had to do is they had to go throughout this entire place that they had designed and get to the specific rooms where they had hidden parts of this idol, and then return it back to the pedestal and reassemble it.
I think I have seen this one once or twice.
Yeah. What I always found fun was the fact that, so to get all the pieces, you had to run through these things and avoid the temple guard. If they caught you, they would drag you out, and your teammates would have to pick up from where you left off. And I think there were some pendants that would allow you to, like a mushroom in Mario kind of idea, where you had some level of protection, but now you don't. And basically, it was just a fun little contest that they would do, almost in the same kind of feel as, do you remember American Gladiators?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of feel.
Yep.
So, except all the contestants were kids. And not actors in spandex named things like Razor. So, as you may have heard, the main media for today was I had seen this movie last year, and I really enjoyed it a whole lot. And so I wanted Nate to experience it as well. But I watched A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which is the story of Tom, and I can never say his last name right. Is it Junod?
I don't know. Junod? Junod? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, it is the story of a journalist and his experience meeting and growing in friendship with one Fred Rogers. It is based on a real story, and so if you have not seen the movie, I do highly recommend that you watch it first. But if you've already seen it, or if you already know this story based on the fact that you've either read the article or you just know the story, but kind of would like a little refresher, I'll give you a bit of a refresher for you. But I will be focusing on the movie and any liberties that they may have taken with the actual story itself. Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is the story of Lloyd Vogel, an Esquire journalist, and how his life had been touched by his relationship with Fred Rogers. The story opens with Lloyd getting into a fistfight with his father at his sister's wedding. Shortly thereafter, he is assigned to an interview with Mr. Rogers as an attempt by his boss to help soften his image. As he begins the interview with Mr. Rogers, he seems to think that this kindly persona has to be all an act, and he proceeds to try and dig deeper. At the same time, Lloyd's father continues to try to make some sort of connection to Lloyd, and Lloyd continues to deny the attempts as he is still holding on to a lot of anger towards his father about how he treated and abandoned his mother as she was dying. However, Lloyd does not know at the same time that his father, while trying to make these inroads, is himself dying. A large part of the rest of the story is about how Lloyd is trying to break into Mr. Rogers' persona, and the entire person of Mr. Rogers breaks into Lloyd and helps him be more honest with his feelings and be open with the people who matter most to him. And eventually he does make inroads with his father and works to rebuild the relationship with his father and strengthen the relationship that he has with his wife and his newborn baby son. And it's all through the kindness and care shown to him through the actions of Mr. Rogers. The story is basically centered around this relationship with Lloyd and Mr. Rogers, because that's really where the whole story is, and then Lloyd finding that reconciliation. So, before we get going, the first question, as always, what did you think of it?
I liked it, and I was surprised because you had briefly mentioned to me as a warning that it wasn't going to be just Mr. Rogers in the movie, that there was another plot around it. But then, of course, the movie starts with a framing device of being a Mr. Rogers television show, right?
Yeah.
So I immediately forgot that advice that you had given me and was just taking in the whole Mr. Rogers opening sequence because that was bringing back a lot of memories, and then was rudely awakened from it when Tom Hanks spoke, because his voice is not like Mr. Rogers' voice, unfortunately, which is too bad that woke me up out of it a little bit. But he did very much act like Mr. Rogers, so it was close enough, I think. The only problem I have is that I've seen Tom Hanks in too many other things. I think that's the problem I have.
But, I mean, as I said to you privately before, there's no one who I think could have done a better job in this role than Tom Hanks.
Yeah, I think so too. He did very well.
He got the personality. He got the persona of Mr. Rogers very well.
And by the time I realized again that the movie wasn't centered around Mr. Rogers, that it was centered around this relationship between Mr. Rogers and Lloyd and his father, I didn't care anymore. Because it almost seemed as if, and I think they pulled this off well, we talked that we had read the article too, the original article that this was based on, and I think both of them do a good job using the devices of telling bits to show Mr. Rogers' personality and still tell about Mr. Rogers. And I think they both succeed there. I am just realizing now that the article doesn't have a father dying of cancer. Only the movie does.
Yeah.
I think, right? The article didn't have a father dying of cancer, right?
I don't recall it saying that, but I don't think so.
I think the movie did a real good job of just using events.
Yeah.
But they both did a very good job of using events to show what Mr. Rogers was like, what the effect he had on people was. I mean, especially the effect he had on Lloyd/Tom.
And I think that's the thing, is this whole story, while Mr. Rogers is the supporting role in this story, I feel like he is the one who influences the story the most.
Yes, his effect is the story, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's what's moving the plot along.
Because without his effect, the story doesn't happen. It ends at a bad end.
Yeah, where they punched each other.
Well, where they punched each other, where the relationship between him and his father deteriorates further. Potentially the relationship between him and his wife deteriorates further. But because of the relationship with Lloyd/Tom and Mr. Rogers, he is able to find reconciliation, where he's able to be open with his emotions, able to be open with who he is and how he feels with the people he genuinely cares about.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it now twice. Each time I finish watching it, it's that mix of like you're on the edge of tearing up, but also being
Mm-hmm.
moved just because it's one of those stories.
We've talked about this before, but I think they did a very good job of doing a whole lot of show, not tell.
Exactly.
You know, they showed him playing piano with his wife. They showed the autistic boy on the stage with Mr. Rogers. They show all these
Mm.
things, and it just all hits. It's all hits home.
And the entire thing ends with him banging on the piano a couple of times and then going into a lovely little solo.
You mean dealing with his anger properly? That's what you mean?
Yes, I mean exactly that. I mean, having anger,
Mm-hmm.
expressing it in a way that is not hurtful to yourself or to others, and move on.
I would like to see "Won't You Be My Neighbor" also came out the year before, I guess, right?
Yeah, and that one was more of a documentary, if I remember right.
Right. I mean, which is interesting because it walks the line of a documentary, but I guess not because things are fictionalized,
Mm.
but the meaning comes across. It's just the events are fictionalized to get there, right?
I did hear that for the movie, if I remember right, Mrs. Rogers was involved in talking to Tom Hanks
Oh, okay.
to make sure that he got the part right.
Okay, good.
Behind the scenes, she basically was helping making sure that things were played to a reasonably believable level
Mm-hmm.
so that it wasn't overdoing the saintlyhood of him.
Mm-mm. Yeah, and I hadn't done a lot of studying up on Fred Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it when Lloyd's wife in the movie says, "Mr. Rogers knows my name."
Yeah.
Be like, I think that if ever that happened, I think I would have that same reaction. I connected with those characters. Even the Lloyd's sister's new husband, I forget his name because it
Yeah.
doesn't matter in the movie, does it? But yeah, I love it. He goes, "Hi, Mr. Rogers." Yeah, I felt like that character.
Yeah, I feel like that was the best reaction because it's how we would all react.
Well, one thing I really liked the use of the miniatures in transition scenes.
Yes.
I am sure that took a lot of work, but they did it very well. I really appreciated that amount of work to get that done because it really added to the movie, I think. Made it work very well. So I really appreciated that. Because again, it made you feel like more of a part of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood because that's how Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood did it. They always used miniatures moving from thing to thing. So yeah, it made you feel like you were part of that show still. Actually, I was thinking about his kids, and I feel like many kids of actors you get to know somehow, or kids of really famous actors anyway. But I feel like I know very little about Mr. Rogers' kids. Like I feel like I know more about Leonard Nimoy's children than Mr. Rogers' children.
Mm.
So anyway, it's just interesting. I don't need to know them, and I think it's fine that I don't know about them. But it's just interesting. I guess I know about Leonard Nimoy's children because Leonard Nimoy's children made a documentary. So maybe that's unfair. 'Cause they told the world about themselves. So yeah, it's different.
I think it's good that they were able to be not in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if anything, he did pretty well with his celebrity, it seems. Of course, I'm probably not still getting the full story, even though I've watched this movie and read the article. But it does seem like he's done pretty well keeping his celebrity in check, not letting it run his life, which is great. I'm not sure many people do that well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I would do it, and if I could even do it well. But
I mean, he was a Presbyterian minister before he became a TV host.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that part of him, like, carried through the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that Presbyterian ministers are all humble, but I think
Mm-hmm.
he had taken and applied that into his life so well that he carried that through to his other parts of life. I will say one thing that I did like is the fact that throughout the entire movie, they did not shy away from him showing his faith.
Mm-hmm.
It was part of what defined him as him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought this was an excellent movie, and it's the fact that I've mentioned this before, but it's one of those things where you look at the life he led, and it's almost one of those things where you can't help but be inspired by it and hope to achieve something close to that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
What can we change to make ourselves closer to that?
Mm-hmm. Where it's walking a life where you show a genuine love for whoever it is in front of you and a care for your fellow man.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing about this movie is the relationships between father and son. That whole dynamic throughout the entire movie is really beautifully shown.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I originally watched this movie with my father,
Oh, really?
and that's the thing that actually stuck out to him.
Hmm.
And given that I am not a father, it is difficult for me to necessarily understand things that would be drawn out from that perspective. So I am kind of curious on where you felt about that.
I think I definitely need reminders in my life that I was a child once too, right? I mean that I think is something that I need to remember more often. Is I continue to see things from my perspective and don't take into account the limited perspective my children see things from. Nor do I often enough see it from their eyes. I need to more often see it from their eyes. Yeah, and I know that I succeed better with my children when I do, because in certain choices in my parenting, I have worked hard to see it from their perspective, or just taken it slower and taken deep breaths, even if I'm not specifically trying to see it from their perspective. Just slowing down and not being uptight. And whenever I do that, it's always better. It's always better. I think that I need to do that more often and remember that I was a child too, or take the time to picture it from their perspective, because it is definitely different than mine. Most of the time, they just don't know the whole picture, which is fine because they don't need to.
Yeah.
But then kind of walk them through what's going on.
Yeah, that is really what it comes down to. I think the closest I have is trying to understand this perspective of my students, especially when they express concerns or fears to me, and me trying to tell them we do really have your best interests in mind. We are really planning for what is best for you. You're just not seeing the whole picture. But trying to also understand from their perspective and really remind myself that, yeah, you remember what it was like to be in a perspective where you thought you had no power, but also where you didn't see the whole picture. Remembering what it was like to be a kid. So I think that's the closest I have. But again, I originally watched this with my father, and so I got his perspective.
That was a good choice to watch with your father.
Well, I was home for Christmas, and we tend to binge whatever movies are in the theaters whenever we get together. This was one that I went, oh, this is in theater still? I would love to watch this.
That's a good one.
And so I said, hey, if you want to go watch this, I'd love to see this movie. And so we watched it together. So I got his perspective on it and what he brought out of that movie. But again, it was him talking to his son right after seeing that movie. So I was curious to get another father's impression from the movie. But again, it is also, as a whole, just a wonderful, uplifting movie. And I think that's one thing that I really did like. The past couple of episodes that we've had have been nothing but uplifting things, and I think that's wonderful. I think it's what we need. At least at the right now.
When's the downer one coming? Not for a while. Okay, good.
Oh, don't you worry. I have a couple of downers we can always get to. I feel like it is very nice that we've had a couple of really uplifting ones. We've had Ted Lasso, and then we had this, where it's overwhelming positivity.
Yes.
And I feel like that's a win.
Yeah, I'm not sure The Giver is going to be overwhelmingly positive. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Is that what's next? Yeah, that's what's next.
Anyway. Alrighty, yes, thank you, Ryan. Thank you for introducing this one to me.
Yeah, no problem.
I have been interested in this movie and the documentary as well, so I'll have to see the documentary another time, but I was very interested in this one, so thank you for bringing it to my attention.
And I'm glad I got a chance to show you, because like I said, I believe I said it now 2 episodes ago, it was my favorite movie that I watched last year. Nate, what do you have for me next week?
Next week, Ryan, I have a book called The Giver for you.
I've heard of this one.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've read it. I'm pretty sure I read this middle school.
Did this one have a movie?
Yes, don't watch the movie.
Don't watch the movie?
Don't watch the movie. We're not going to be reviewing the movie because that is not a hill I'm willing to die on.
Gotcha. Book, yes. Movie, no. Okay.
Yes. It's been a long time since I've read the book, too, so I am very curious to read it again. I actually own 2 copies of this book. One because I needed it, and then the other one because my brother gave it to me as a gift for being part of his wedding, which I was very appreciative of because it was a good gift. Especially because the one that he gave me is much nicer than the one that I had. So I think I'm going to try reading the paper copy of this.
Good on you.
Instead of listening to the audiobook this time.
Well,
it's going to be the first paper book I've read in quite a while.
Well, I will say that I have not. And the reason why this is being brought to me is I have heard of this book. A lot of people have talked to me about this book. I've never read this book. I just never got around to it. I'm sure it's great. And I'll let you know what I think of it on our next episode.
Sounds good.
But we do hope you enjoyed this episode. But the conversation doesn't have to end here. The discussion can continue with us through Reddit on r/myhilltodieon, or by contacting us through Twitter at myhilltodieon. You can also reach us by email, which is, to no one's surprise, myhilltodieon@gmail.com. And finally, we upload all of our episodes to our YouTube channel, which is also named, say it with me now, folks, My Hill to Die On. Have a good night. I always like how whenever I type show to get to the show notes in Google, the first 2 things that always pop up are show notes and Showa Keenan Cohen. At least Google knows where I am.
Showa Park is pretty nice. Have you been there recently?
Not recently.
Not since the lockdown?
I don't go anywhere because of the lockdown. I mean, the furthest I went today was I went out to buy food. I regularly need the spice of life.
Curry, huh?
Curry. Curry is the spice of life. I took my little capture thing today that I got a while back because I just have not had time to do anything with that side project lately. I need to actually work towards a lot of my side projects, especially with, this being a season of intentionality.
Yeah.
So I added a new field.
You did the circle part of the journey?
Yeah. Basically just said, no, I am going to be intentional about working towards all of my side projects. And so I feel like I've been pretty productive today. I did some writing in the morning, and then in the afternoon I was working on getting everything set up and seeing how I could get everything captured.
Cool.
I just now have to work on how to get it so that I can actually play the game and capture at the same time.
I know Tom Hanks was nominated for an Oscar. Did he win? I can't find the awards thing on IMDb.
He was a nominee.
Only nominee. Okay.
Only a nominee. It was a Golden Globe.
No, he was best performance by an actor in a sporting role for Oscars as well.
Oh, and an Oscar as well. Yeah, the Oscar was also just nominee.
Oh yeah, Brad Pitt won. He didn't need to win again. Of course, Tom Hanks probably doesn't need to win again either.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Nah.
I haven't seen that movie yet.
I would say of all these, I would have given it to Tom Hanks. Maybe Anthony Hopkins for Two Popes, but I'm pretty sure he's probably won enough anyway.
He didn't win for Castaway. He won for Forrest Gump and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Castaway, he was great.
Although, I mean, you do look at the best performance by an actor in a supporting role. You look at that list that year, it was Brad Pitt or Anthony Hopkins or Tom Hanks or Al Pacino or Joe Pesci. I mean, no matter who you got, right? You got somebody who's probably already won something.
Yeah. Tough crowd to be against.
And not actors in spandex name things like Razor.
Yeah, that was a very interesting show too. We used to watch that one frequently.
What were their names? They were all ridiculous things like that.
They were all ridiculous names. I don't think I want to look that up right now.
I've already gone down that path. Let's see. Malibu, Zap, Gemini, Nitro, Blaze, Bronco.
Wow, I actually recognize these names.
Laser.
Is there an official website or is all this Wikipedia?
This is all Wikipedia.
Because they don't want that to be on the web anymore, do they?
I'm sure there's an official American Gladiators website.
AmericanGladiators.com. Oh wow, it is the old show.
There was a reboot in 2008, by the way.
Oh. Can't be as good as it used to be, though.
Like not.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We should probably not go down this rabbit hole. Because otherwise we're going to spend the entire evening talking about that wonderful time where Saber and... Actually, there is a guy named Saber. Wow.
Oh, I think there was, yes.
Yes.
Let's move off of American Gladiators.
Yeah,
I used to
please.
like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
Oh, yes.
That was a great show. I used to watch that one frequently.
I used to play the game.
Yeah, well, yeah. I used to play the game on the Apple II. In fact, I have the game in my emulator. I think my oldest daughter's probably getting to the point where she could probably play it, but it involves a lot of reading. So my younger two daughters aren't quite there yet, or at least the reading won't hold their interest, right? But if you're older...
And that's the thing is, when we were their age, there was no voice acting in our games. And so it was, oh, you want to play a game? Well, guess what? You're going to have to read.
You're going to have to read the screen. Yep.
Which I will say, I definitely had a higher reading comprehension level than I should have, simply because I really wanted to play those Final Fantasies. Way too young to understand half the things that were happening, but I got to really improve my vocabulary. Carmen Sandiego was a lot of fun. As I said, I watched DuckTales and Tailspin, those sort of things. G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, yeah.
I also watched Captain Planet.
Oh, yeah. My brother watched Captain Planet a lot.
Which, you you have fire, water, wind, earth, and heart.
Yes, heart. All the elements.
Although, you think about what heart actually was, and that's got to be some super powerful stuff, because it's one of his powers was he could communicate with animals because he had the power of heart. So it's telepathy. That's it. He had telepathy.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that show. Was that based on a comic book, or was it only a cartoon?
I don't know. The problem is when I go searching for Captain Planet, the first things that pop up are Captain Underpants and Captain America.
Yeah.
The conception was, it looks like it was conceived as a show. At least that's what it looks like. I might be missing something, but I don't know.
Thundercats. We used to watch Thundercats.
Oh, yes, Thundercats. Birdman.
I don't think I watched that one. I used to watch Transformers.
Yeah, I thought I already mentioned that one. Yeah, Transformers was... I watched so much Transformers growing up.
Wow, LeVar Burton and Whoopi Goldberg are voices in Captain Planet.
Really?
Frank Welker, too. Well, of course, the monkey. Frank Welker is Curious George and a bunch of other... John Ratzenberger. Oh, these are the villains. Meg Ryan. Oh, there's that. Martin Sheen.
The second villain to appear was voiced by Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, yeah, I missed that one. I did not know that LeVar Burton was the Earth guy. I don't recognize any of the other actors, though.
I recognize a lot of the villains.
Yeah.
Martin Sheen.
Mm-hmm.
Sting.
I just saw that one, yeah.
Captain Pollution was formed by the ring of laser, deforestation, smog, toxics, and hate.
Yep. All right, we gotta stop looking at
Oh, come on. We can go down the rabbit hole of Captain Pollution any day. Although, can I just say, why is laser the counterpart to fire?
I don't know.
Because lasers are it's just light emissions.
I think it should be foam. Styrofoam. Anyway, speaking of old TV, what's the Big Bird show where he goes to Japan and walks around going, "Hi, Ohio," all the time? Remember that one?
I do not remember that one.
Oh, man.
There's one apparently called Big Bird in Japan.
Oh, is there one called Big Bird in Japan?
Big Bird in Japan is a 1989 TV special by the Children's Television Workshop, sequel to Big Bird in China.
It's the sequel to Big Bird in China, okay.
Big Bird and Barkley find help from a friendly young woman who is planning to leave Japan at the same time they will be, and is from the same town, Kyoto.
Yep, because he walks around, everyone goes, "Ohio," and he goes, "Oh, they're all from Ohio. Hi, Ohio."
Yes, they're all from Ohio.
hmm Oh, he's been to Ohio too. Hi, Ohio. Oh, yes, actually, the video releases on the bottom there of that wiki
Yeah.
page. That red one is the one we had. I can tell you right now. Must have been in their library or something.